Kalan, tell me what it means when someone says they want multiple streams of income. Tell the people. Why do the people need multiple streams of income?
COVID says it all. What's the difference between having an LLC for your business and being trademarked?
For me, I'm trying to get multiple streams of income because I'm trying to retire early. 62, can't do it.
All right, y'all. So look, last week we hoped y'all locked in with us. Well, more specifically, we hope you locked in with Kim.
Yeah.
On last week, he was giving us all the personal finance gems, as well as like some business financial gems, but things that you can apply to help you be able to get your first property and become a homeowner. Mm-hmm. Now we said the goal is to become a real estate investor,
right?
And we kind of touched on it, but most people don't become an investor without at least purchasing one property for themselves first. So now you know how to do that. Now we're going to dive into more of the how do I acquire that first property?
Yes. And so before, and I think we should also talk about folks who are thinking about becoming real estate agents as income stream. And my first question actually is kind of on that vein, and I'm gonna circle back to the investing, but specifically, I heard you say that you work for a brokerage, right? So I'm assuming that's a different type of real estate license, right? Brokerage license. Okay.
Brokerage license, yeah.
Wonderful. What is the difference between brokerages? Because I mean, as somebody who's thinking about becoming a real estate agent, you got to sign up with a brokerage, but is there a difference between them?
Yes, there's a difference. There's a difference between them. I'll say it like this: just like you go to the grocery store and you going to buy a loaf of bread, you go to the bread aisle. There are 50 different kinds of breads.
Got it.
I mean, white bread, 50 different brands. Mm-hmm. They all white bread, but I would venture to say there's something different about all of them, but they are still bread. Same thing with brokerages. They all serve the same purpose, but they all going to have their pros and cons to them. They all might have, one might have more of a focus on this. So when I say this, meaning one might have more of a focus on training, you know what I mean? Developing agents. One might have more of a focus on developing agents and also giving them knowledge on passive stream of income. So basically, they kind of have a model where if you come into this brokerage and you recruit other agents, we have a structure where you can get a piece of what they do.
Wow.
So there are some brokerages that's their model. And then you have some brokerages that their model is, hey, you might not really need a lot. You know what I mean? You just need a place to put your license because you have to have your license under a broker and you just want to go out and do business. You don't really need much support. You just need to do your thing. Those models tend to say, you know what? You can have 100% of your commission because we're not really doing much for you. You just pay a fee of XYZ a month.
So that you're underneath our umbrella.
Yeah, so you might pay a $500 fee. Now, let's say they have 20 agents doing that. That's $10,000 for them a month.
Oh, wow.
That's enough to pay the lease on the space that they have, make them some money, So they have a different kind of model. You know what I mean? Different kind of model. So every brokerage provides the same service in terms of they have a broker and real estate agents that practice real estate underneath of them. But their focus and what their business is built on can be very different.
Okay. So go ahead.
I'm sorry, Candace. Before you ask your next question, so I just want to make sure a brokerage are those companies like the Keller Williams, those type of things, right?
And your Remax, et cetera.
Yeah, those are called brokerages. You have a broker. There's only one for that particular company. There's only one broker. You might have other agents in that brokerage. They may have the title of associate broker. That just means that they have a broker's license, but they don't own a brokerage or they're not running a brokerage because there can only be one. So they've done the necessary steps to get the education to satisfy the educational requirements and the testing for whatever state that they have that license in. So if they wanted to go start their own, they already have the credentials to be able to do that. But a lot of agents, they don't necessarily want to have their own, but they want to have that that extra credential, but they're still out here just listing and selling real estate just like a traditional, what we call a salesperson that doesn't have a broker's license.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to the investing, on the flip side, is there a difference for the consumer between brokerages?
In my opinion, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. I can't say no.
Okay.
So I'm sure there is.
Okay.
But what I'll say is this. I've been in the business. I've been a real estate agent. This is coming up on my 20th year. What I learned after a little while of being in the business is that you, the agent, you are an individual business. Most people, they're not listing and selling their property because of, like, I'm affiliated with Century 21.
Okay.
They're not really doing that because of Century 21. They're doing it because of me.
Okay.
So with that being said, Century 21 provides me some credibility. Like if I walk into a total stranger's home to have a conversation about listing their property for sale, the one thing that they can feel comfortable about, I've heard of Century 21. I don't know anything about Kim Profit.
Okay.
But I've heard of Century 21 or Keller Williams or Remax or Long and Foster or Coldwell Banker.
Yeah.
I've never heard of Kim Profit Realty. You know what I mean?
Got it.
Because I could have my own brokerage, but they've never heard of it.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I won't get the business, because it's just like you going on a job interview. At that point, it's my job to let them know, here's what I bring to the table. Here's what I can do for you. Here are the pros and cons. And then, they can decide at that point. But just because an agent is with a widely known broker, that doesn't mean that they know anything.
Doesn't make them any good. Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. That's just like a doctor or a lawyer or anything else. Just because they have that license, it doesn't mean that they're good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. So continuing on the consumer side, on my way to, so now I'm on the path. I done bought my first property, and now I'm ready to start with investing. What would you recommend as a first step for someone who's interested in real estate investing? They have maybe a townhouse or a small single family house, and what's the next step if I want to be an investor?
Okay. So the next step, I said this in the last session, was making yourself knowledgeable.
Education.
Educating yourself. Educating yourself on what it's going to take. You know what I mean? What do I need to put in place to get, now that I own this home? So most of the time with educating yourself, that means talking to a real estate agent. That means talking to a loan officer. And you're just inquiring. You're just asking questions. I get it all the time. And I love it because I'm not only an agent that can just kind of guide you. I'm a real estate investor myself. So I can give you real life experience of, here's what you can do. Here's some options for you based on your scenario, that kind of thing. But you have to educate yourself in that way, because before you make any changes with your finances, before you do anything, you want to know that, so let me focus my efforts here, because I thought I was going to have to focus my efforts there. You know what I mean? Like I have my credit score is a 678. I don't think that's high enough. So I was going to pay this off and, pay this down and try to get to a 700, because I keep hearing you have to have a 700. Nope.
Maybe. Yeah.
There's some loan programs that you can do at a 660. So you're already good there.
Right.
And that money you were going to be paying to pay down, you need that, because you're going to need at least 15 to 20%. Oh, really? Okay. So let me focus on stacking my money versus that part. So that comes with the knowledge and having a conversation with someone that's knowledgeable. That would be the second part. Making sure you're talking to somebody, because you could talk to any real estate agent, but not every real estate agent is well versed in investment properties. They can tell you, I know real estate, so I could sell you a property.
Sell you the property.
But when it comes to investment properties, there's a lot more that go into it, meaning there's numbers that have to be ran. It has to make sense for that person. It has to, there's a lot of due diligence that has to be done. A lot of real estate agents, sad to say, they might not even own a home, but they sell.
Yeah, because anybody, if you
I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
You can be living at home and be 18 years old. Yeah. And just be like, I think I want to do real estate because I'm not feeling this government job.
Exactly. I just want to go get a real estate license.
I don't like it.
And never even bought a house.
I don't like
same way with car
That's like the dentist not selling. You don't got no teeth. You can't work on my teeth. But I don't like it.
It's the same way with car salesmen. A lot of times you're going to a car dealership to buy a car. Let's say it's a Lexus dealer or a Honda dealer or whatever it is. They don't even drive that kind of car.
Yeah.
But they're selling you one. You know what I mean? And it's like, you're not even committed limited to this. How am I going to listen to you? It's not to say that
just going
that's
down your
right,
script.
but I'm just saying it doesn't look, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would say to seek out someone that has knowledge on that, you know what I mean? That can actually be knowledgeable on it.
So my first question as a consumer who's interested in real estate investing after I've educated myself is, do you invest in real estate?
That would tell a lot. I swear, that would tell you a lot. If you ask a real estate agent to say, hey, I want to have a conversation with you about investment properties because I own a property and I want to start buying some investment properties. They're going to tell you, oh, great. Yes. Because they're thinking about selling you a property, right?
Right.
And then you say, okay, first question in the meeting. So do you invest in real estate? And you can go from there.
From there.
You know what I mean? You can
Okay.
go from there. And then you could determine from there, you know, what they tell you. That doesn't mean that they don't know.
Yeah.
But you at least you know what you're dealing with to say, okay, now I know how to listen to the rest of your words, because when I hear you say that, now I can listen to the rest of it with, are you coming from a salesperson pitch or are you coming from a person that actually has experience? You get what I'm saying? So now you know how to process that information.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does real estate investing always mean buying and flipping a property?
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't always mean buying and flipping a property. So buying and flipping a property, when you hear the term flipping, that typically means someone buys a property. Most often they're going to do some work to it to enhance it, and then they're going to sell it for a profit.
Right.
That doesn't even always hold true. They could actually buy it for a lower value and turn right back around and sell it for a higher value, depending on how low of a value they got it.
Right.
That's flipping. So when you think about it, you're taking it and just flipping it to another person. But that's not the only thing. That's not the only thing when it comes to real estate investing. You have what they call buy and hold, meaning you buy a property to keep it and rent it out and have it in a portfolio. You might say, I want to have multiple properties that way. My portfolio is made up of all buy and holds. I've also done flips as well. But my philosophy is, my personal philosophy when it comes to investing, I have a certain dollar amount that I kind of stick with, a certain property type that I kind of stick with. And I tell everybody, you need to come up with your own. You can't just be all over the place. Your own niche, what it is. It's almost like having a business plan. Like your business plan is going to guide everything that you do. So you don't want to just be willy-nilly saying, I'm just a real estate investor. So do you invest in $1 million homes? Well, no, I don't do that. Do you invest in, mobile homes? No, I don't do that. Well, what do you do? So now you need to have something down and say, this is what I do. Okay. This is what my focus is going to be, because without that, you're just going to be all over the place.
And I think a lot of people are like how you're saying, just all over the place. Because,
and whatever looks good.
Yeah. Whatever has a great price, is decent, and it's convenient. I'm there. But then if, like you said, if it's a single family for a lower cost, I'm gonna go ahead and jump on that too. But like you said, now you all over the place. And I'm just thinking one of the pros could be, if you are dealing with all single level homes, if that's what your portfolio looks like, now you have like expertise in knowing, all right, like I know what to look for when I'm dealing with the same.
You almost have a template.
Home.
You know what I mean? You almost have a template. And it's funny you mentioned single family. I mean, like one level living. So that's something that I kind of encourage for initial investors, like when you come out one level living. When you have one level, there's no basements that flood.
No,
you know what I mean?
Tell them about it.
Yeah, typically with one level living, it's a smaller footprint. So that means if your tenant were to damage the property, it's going to be kind of limited. It's not a lot that they could actually damage. You know what I mean? When it comes to replacing things, you got to replace the carpet. There's not a lot of square footage, so you don't have to replace much. There's no steps, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So getting your feet wet and coming into investing, I also think about condos a lot. With condos, you own the walls in. So you have someone that maintains the building, maintains the grounds. When you're owning the condo itself, again, you have very little that you're responsible for. You know what I mean? You have less of the major things that could go wrong. If the roof is leaking, that's not your responsibility.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're just really worrying about the main things, the major appliances, the stove, dishwasher, and refrigerator.
Okay.
Your hot water heater and your HVAC system.
And now let me ask you a question as we think about those different types of properties. So you got your condos, your townhouses, your single family houses, estate homes, if you will.
Yep.
When you are thinking about a condo specifically, and if that's your investment strategy, so I'm going to buy some condos, and those are mostly buy and hold type properties, right? You wouldn't
Not necessarily. No, it's with any investment. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's watches, bananas, houses. I don't care what it is. Okay. Investing is all about buying it low and selling it high. You know what I mean? Like, so if the numbers make sense, I don't care what it looked like. I don't care what it is. As long as the numbers make sense, that's what drives the opportunity. One thing I want to stress too is I get a lot of people when you talked about the consumer side of things, when they come to you, you know what the number one question I get is, are there any deals out there?
I was just about to ask, like, how do you determine that? Yeah.
So, and I asked them a question. So what's the deal?
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal to you?
Yeah.
Because what's a deal to you might not be a deal to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
if you want to rephrase that question to say if are there any opportunities out there, there's plenty of them. That doesn't mean that they're going to be a deal though. Yeah. And again, a deal to me might not look like a deal to you.
Right.
You know, I just had to explain this to a client of mine.
Okay.
I sent them a property. They wanted to invest. Okay. They said, Kim, are there any properties at, around $100,000? I say, oh yeah, they are here. They might not be in the, the best neighborhoods or whatever, but they are out here. Okay. Well, that's what we're looking for. One came on the market, 2-bedroom condo, $107,000, right? Condo fee, I want to say let's just say it's $350, right? So I said, okay, let me shoot this to him. So I shot it to him. Okay, when can we go look at it? Took him to go look at it. Now I actually own a unit in this building. Okay. My sister owns a unit in this building. So I know the building. I'm familiar with it. Now we just need to see what the condition of the property is. So this particular property, we took a look at it. Tenant had only been there for like 5 or 6 months. It was managed by a management company. It was a LLC that owned it. Okay. So when they turned it over from the previous renter, they had put in a new floor. They had put in a couple of new appliances. The HVAC was updated. So from an investor hat, I'm like, they've done all my work. Yeah. I'm good. Like this is, this is good. So they said, Kim, what do you think? And I said, and again, there's a renter already there. There's a tenant already there.
Oh, and the tenant's not leaving. So you got cash in hand.
Yeah. So depending, right? So they sent the rent roll. The rent roll is, here's a record of how this tenant has paid their rent, as well as a record of all the expenses the management company has had to pay as related to this unit over multiple months, so you can see what's happened. So they were paying $1,400 a month. That was their rent. They were on time and they paid every month. The lease was in place for, it was a 2-year lease. So the lease was going to be in place for another at least 18 months or so, 19 months or so. So they said, Kim, what you think? I said, from my perspective, I said, to me, the condition is great. You don't have to do anything. It comes with a tenant. The tenant's already there. They gave you the rent roll. Yeah, but they could be lying. That's true. They could be lying. There's nothing to really verify. It's just a honor system when it comes to that, right? Again, you don't want to be judgmental, but I'm looking at the family that's there, and I'm like, looking at the condition of the property. They've been here 5 months. They had 2 small kids. This property doesn't look damaged or anything. Right. So if I had to go on my gut as an investor, if it were me, I would say. So they said, well, what are the comparables? Like, what are the sales prices for the properties that have sold? I said, okay, I'll send that when I get home. So I sent it to them. The highest property that sold, I think, was like $98,000. They wanted $107 for this particular one. So the one spouse said, but that's not a deal. You know what I mean? I'm paying market price for this, right? I said, yeah, that's one way to look at it, And so I said, you guys talk about it and come back to me. So they did. So they said, all right, Kim, we want to really hear your opinion. Now, these people are close to me, so I could take off my real estate hat and not really give my personal opinion and say, all right. I said, here's my thoughts. If you don't want it, I'm going to buy it. Period. Bottom like that. I ran the numbers and it makes sense for me. So if y'all don't want to buy it, I'll buy it. Yeah. Well, what made you say that? Like, what made you? And so all of that I just shared with you, I shared with them. I said, that's what made me share it. Yeah. And then ultimately, when it came down to the numbers of it, I could buy this property and I can cash flow $400 a month on it, the way that it is, with the amount of money that they're paying.
Yeah.
And it would be a buy and hold for me. So I don't care that I'm paying a premium for the price of the property, because these right here are still in a place where this is entry level, meaning when somebody comes to the market to buy a property, this is always going to be affordable for them.
Yes.
So that means that that person that only can qualify for $150,000, this is what's going to look attainable to them.
Yeah.
So as more properties sell, this value is going to go up.
Yeah.
I purchased a 3-bedroom unit in this building 2 years ago for $100,000. I can sell it today for $130,000.
Yeah.
That's a 30% increase in 2 years. I don't plan on getting rid of it. I don't care. No property has sold for $100,000 at that time.
Yeah.
Let me go into how I got that one really quickly. So my sister said, hey, I got word that a lady wants to sell her unit in the building. I said, tell her I want it. You haven't even seen it yet. Tell her I want it, because I already know the price point and it's going to work for me. Tell her I want it. Put me in touch with her. So she put me in touch with her. I said, how you doing? You know, I heard you were selling your property. I'm interested. Oh, yeah, I am selling it. I did this to it. I did that to it. I did this to it. And great. And so she was unaware that I was a real estate agent. She's just thinking she's talking to another person rather than a consumer. So I get it. I got that, you know. I said, so how much do you want for it? $125,000. Again, nothing probably sold over $90,000 at that point. Right?
Okay.
$125,000.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. I said, well, listen, I'm not even going to waste your time. I said, you know, I'm a real estate agent, so I know the values over there. I said, and honestly, nothing has sold over $90,000 over there. So I'm not saying it's impossible for you to get $125,000. I'm just saying that it's going to take a special buyer to buy it at $125,000. I'm not him. You know, I'm not him. So I wish you luck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And well, wait, you didn't give me your offer. And I said, well, personally, I don't want to insult you. Because if you're looking for $125,000, that wasn't what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Well, what were you thinking? I said, well, originally I was thinking $90,000 because I'm paying cash. I was thinking $90,000. I said, but since I hear you want $125,000, in my mind, I had already made up that I would go to $100,000 just to not compete with anybody.
Right.
To just say, let's just do this. Okay, well, let me talk to my sister. She's a real estate agent and this and that. I said, okay, no problem. I said, because if your sister knows anything about this business, she'll tell you, nothing has sold over $90,000. $100,000 cash, no red tape. He can close in 2 weeks. Let's do it, right? And I was trying to do it in 2 weeks because I was leaving to go to Thailand and Dubai on vacation. I was going to be gone for almost 2 weeks. And I wanted to wrap it up before I left. She didn't get back to me. Of course, I always take my laptop and stuff when I travel. So she hit me, Mr. Prophet, is that offer still on the table? I said, nope. She said, really? I said, no, I'm just kidding. It's still on the table. Like, you know, you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you sooner, but I just had to make sure. And I said, okay, cool. I can do all of the paperwork right now. Give me your email address. I can send it over to you, DocuSign. And I did the deal while I was in Thailand. You know, did it then. By the time I got back, it was about a week. I went to settlement on that. I'm saying all of that because going back to the couple that I was talking to, I had to explain that to them about why I paid a premium for the property back then. And look at where I am 2 years later. I have my money plus 30 grand back. The value gets established for properties every time the next property is sold.
Right.
So
tell them about it.
In a market where the property values are increasing, especially now where it's going up quickly.
Yes.
You don't care, especially if you're holding it. It's only when you're trying to flip it that really makes sense. You know what I mean? I'm holding it. I'm holding it for the long haul. This is my retirement plan and my legacy that I'm going to leave to my kids. So I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care. Just like when the market went bad in 2008, I paid a great deal of money for my house, over $500,000. People like, oh my God, I know you're sick now. I said, not really, because I don't plan on going nowhere. So it'll bounce back. It'll come back, and guess what?
It did.
The value came back and more. So, and they were like, yeah, Kim, you were right. I said, yeah, when you're not pressed, you know, like hard pressed to do anything, like I don't need to sell it right now. I don't need to go anywhere. I'm good. Yeah. I'm going to ride this thing out. So I'm good to go.
So just curious, how many properties do you have in your portfolio? Eight properties right now. Yeah.
And so I hear you. It's funny because I hear you say there was $100,000 condo and blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna be honest. When I think about real estate investing, I never even think $100,000, $80,000. Like my mind always goes to 250, 300, 400. And I don't know what that's about. It's probably because I watch too much Flip or Flop. Yeah. That's probably what it is.
So I can tell you what it is.
Okay.
It's because you aren't well versed in the market. You know what I mean? Like as a real estate agent, I'm going to know a lot more about the market. I'm going to know there are condos that sell for $40, $50, $100,000.
Yeah.
You wouldn't just readily know that unless you made up your mind that I'm going to be an investor.
Okay.
And I want to make myself knowledgeable of the market, the full market.
Yeah.
So if that's not where so let's say when I said I had a model, my model was to invest in things that were $200,000 and less.
Okay.
Because I could pay all cash for it.
Okay.
And that for me was a leverage tool. I can beat out the next person by me paying cash for it.
Yeah. Yes.
You got the cash.
Now I know people are saying, well, I don't have that type of money. You don't have to have that type of money. That was just my model. You can use your model, because what I did do with that was once I bought it, if it needed some work, I could do some work to it to increase the value some. And typically when I bought it undervalued because I'm paying cash. So I can persuade you to sell it for a little less than you would have because you're getting all of your money like in 2 weeks.
Up front.
You know what I mean? So that means I already have some built-in equity when I buy it. Then when I do some renovation to it, I might put $10,000 or $15,000 into it, putting a new kitchen in, making the bathrooms nice, renovating them, all new carpet, paint, wood floors, whatever. Now it looks a lot better. What I then do is go and refinance it to get all of my money out. And now, let's say...
Can you backtrack there and just break that down a little slower?
All right, I'll give you.
When you say you pulled all your money.
Yeah, I'll give you a real example. The same condo that I paid $100,000 for.
Okay.
I paid $100,000 for that cash.
Got it.
Okay.
The work that she had done to it, it didn't require me to do anything to it.
Okay.
Right? It didn't require me to do anything to it. With that being said, because of the timing, I secured a tenant, all of that when I got back. So it was about 3 or 4 months. In that 3 or 4 months, another one has sold. I think 2 more has sold. So now the value, those established the value at like 110, 115.
Because you sold at 100.
Because I sold at 100, right? So now I went to go get a loan on the property. So basically, like if I had a mortgage and I was refinancing, but I don't have a mortgage, it's paid off. So now I'm going to take out a loan on a property. So that's essentially me getting my money back, right? So when I took a loan out on a property, most investment properties, if you got really, really good credit, the maximum they'll extend to you is 80%.
Right, 80-20.
80%, right? If your credit's not, that doesn't mean you can't get it. It just means that, if you have good credit, it's 80%. If you have less than good credit, meaning your credit score is in the 6s to the low 6s, they may say, well, the max we can give you is 70% or 75. I was just trying to get the maximum of my money back. So when they appraised the property appraised at 110. So if I did 80,000, that means I can get a loan for 88. So I got 88,000 of the 100 that I paid in. I'm only in for 12 at this point. I cash flow $500 a month. What cash flow means is that after I pay the mortgage, after I pay the condo fee, and the taxes and insurance are included in the mortgage, I have $500 left after that. That's my money.
From
that's
your tenant.
profit. So when you do the math on that, and you say $500 a month, that's $6,000 a year. Remember, I'm only in for 12. So after 2 years, I got my money back.
All your money.
And now year 3 and beyond is all profit. $6,000 a year at that point. And still, I have equity in the property that's continued to appreciate over the time, right? So that's what I mean when I say pull it out. Now, for anybody out there or you guys, you'll hear that if you start to YouTube and Google investment strategies, you'll hear that as the BRRRR method. To buy, rehab, refinance, and then rent out. That's what you'll hear that as.
Got it. BRRRR method. I've heard it before, and I've never even knew what they talk about. So keep on going.
BRRRR. So,
okay. So, real quick. So, you were in a position to purchase your investment property cash. So, what about those that are interested or have to go the route of financing?
Right.
How does that work? Because are you able to really build a portfolio if you're consistently going back to the bank?
Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you how that works. So I'm gonna give you a couple different strategies.
Okay.
You two had the first strategy that I'm gonna talk about. You had a property that was your primary residence, and then you bought another property that was going to be your primary residence, which turned your first property into an investment property at that time. That's probably the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
Right? You also talked about another strategy, or you talked about another question. You didn't even form it as a question, but it comes to me as a question, which is, I have to have one property first as my primary residence before I can have an investment property. And that's false.
Right.
You can go live at home with your mother and just continuously buy properties and they're all your investment properties and you live at home for free. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's no stopping you. Now, some people will do this. Let's say they do live at home. They'll get a loan, go buy a property, and they say that's going to be my primary residence, right? They put minimal down payment down because of, with your primary residence. But then they stay at home and they rent that out. They go to the bank after, let's say, a year, they're ready to buy another property. And they say, well, what about this property? Oh, that's an investment property. It's rented out. I'm staying with my mother until I buy this house. Then they buy the next one and the next one and the next one. And they just keep buying them like that. Is
that against the law?
Yeah, it is. But
I've always thought about that.
But it's being done. I mean, and it's ways to, that you could do it where it's legit, meaning that they could live in it for a certain amount of time if they wanted to, and then move back home with moms, then rent it out, just to make sure that everything is on the up and up. But that allows them to get basically a residential loan, not an investment loan, a residential loan at a lower down payment, better interest rate, and they have an investment property at that rate.
Because now they're different. The residential loan and an investment loan are different?
They're different because when you're saying you're going to live in the property, the terms are different. They're better. They're better.
Yeah.
Look at
and
that.
Oftentimes, because on the residential, they might only ask for 3 to 5%.
Exactly.
And then on the investment, they want they 15 to 20 or something like
20,
that.
Exactly.
But it's I've always wondered how does the bank know if I'm just living at home or if I'm still staying here and I'm just saying, I'm about to purchase this home around the corner that's going I'm telling you that's going to be my primary. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I'm really getting that to rent it out.
So they don't. You know what I mean? They really don't know. And because they're so busy, they don't do a lot of due diligence to check up. But there are some things that happen that could be a red flag. That could, you say that's going to be your primary residence, right? You go to settlement and then you call me up and say, all right, Kim, I got that house. I'm ready to list it for rent. And then I put it on the MLS to rent it out. And then it raises a red flag with somebody because they see it out on the internet as a property for rent.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, you could legit say, I had some sort of something to come up that allowed, something. You know what I mean? But it got to be legit. But most time that's not the case. So people have to be, very careful when it comes to that. But that's another strategy that people do. The other one, and this is I'm going to split this one in two. The other one is just actually straight up saying, I'm going to a lender to let them know I want to buy an investment property. And I say I'm going to split it in two because you have, when you go to a lender and say I'm going to buy an investment property and I'm going to use all of my credentials, meaning my W-2s, my bank statements. And just like on the previous session we had, I talked about debt to income ratio. They bring all of that in. So basically what has to happen is you have to be able, your income has to be able to substantiate buying another property. And because you're buying it, let's say it doesn't have a renter in it, there's no rent to count towards your debt to income ratio. So now essentially you have to afford both of those properties.
Right.
Even though you're not going to be paying both of them, you're going to put a renter in there. But that's what happens. Now, if it comes with a lease already, somebody already in it, but you don't have any type of experience as a landlord, they may give you some sort of credit, meaning they'll say, well, if they pay $2,000 a month, we may give you 50% credit, meaning you can use $1,000 of that income and tack it onto your income to make sure you fit within the debt to income ratio.
Gotcha.
That's a traditional investment loan from a lender that still falls under Fannie Mae guidelines.
Okay.
Right. And they're still going to ask you for some other requirements. They're going to want the 15 to 20% down, depending on your credit. They're going to want you to have 3 to 6 months of reserves, meaning 3 to 6 months of mortgage payments in the bank in case these people don't pay the rent. You can still pay the mortgage,
which is different than on your residential because they don't ask you for that.
Not every loan asks you for reserves, right? Or the reserves can be satisfied in a different way. On a residential home, most often they'll allow you to use your retirement account as a reserve account. Even though you're not tapping into it, it's not liquid. They'll say that checks the box as reserves. So if anybody's been on a job for any significant amount of time, they can say my 401k, $75,000, $50,000 is more than enough to be reserves. And the lender's like, okay, check. Under those traditional guidelines, Fannie Mae will only say, look, man, we can only go with you, but so far. Meaning,
right.
After your third or fourth house, we can't lend to you no more. Like you in a whole nother
and then
category.
That's when you need some cash.
Not only do you need cash, I won't say that's when you need cash. It's just when you have to go a different route.
Okay.
So those Fannie Mae loans that I talked about, they fall under what we call qualifying mortgages, meaning that they come under those guidelines. So if it's not qualifying, then it's non-qualifying. And you'll see it referenced as QM or non-QM. So you might even see things floating out there that says, this is a bank statement loan. This is a no-doc loan. This is a foreign national loan, meaning you can use your bank statements to substitute for income, meaning you don't have to get pay stubs. We can tally up all of the deposits on your bank statement, and we'll use that number as income. You can use a no-doc loan. No doc meaning you don't submit any type of documentation to support what you're telling me on this loan application.
It's risky for them. Right.
Them.
And so what's the cost to you? Because if it's risky to them, it's a cost to me.
It's definitely going to be a cost to you. So there's a premium associated with that.
Okay.
That premium is going to be, they're going to charge you, like you might pay an origination fee to when you buy a regular house. Oftentimes you'll hear people reference it as 1 point.
Yes.
Or 1% of the purchase, of the loan amount. With investment properties, the norm is going to be anywhere from 2 to 5.
Okay.
But again, it's a business.
Right.
It's an investment. So if the numbers line up, that doesn't even matter to you.
Right.
You're like, I'll pay that up front because really, I'm buying this thing at a steal. I'm buying it and it's going to have $50,000 equity in it.
Okay.
I don't care that I got to pay $10,000 in fees to get it.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off, right? But it is going to cost you up front. Now, you could still structure the deal in a way where maybe the seller covers that, or you roll it into the loan so you're not really coming out of your pocket with it. Maybe. But it is going to be a premium that you have to pay for you to give up less documentation. I personally do that. So I don't pay cash for every property, right?
Okay.
So how I said I bought that condo $100,000 cash, right? If I could go buy 4 more of those right now with that same $100,000 because I could split it up 25, 25, 25, 25. Because an investor loan, the lender that I deal with, they have a non-QM loan that it's 20% down for me. So that'll be $20,000. And then I can use that other 5 as my closing costs. So I can buy 4 more properties with that same $100,000.
Wow.
Right? So that's where you kind of get into how to be able to do that. And like you said, that's when you need cash. Not necessarily. It just depends on how you want to structure it, So again, instead of me using all of my money and leaving it there, I use my money. I got one property, kept it for a few months, refinanced, took my money out. Now I can use that same money. I could do the same thing again, or I could do it with multiple properties and do it that way.
Gotcha.
And so that's what I chose to do. And of course, when it comes to those lenders, the more experience you have, meaning the more transactions you do like that, the more leverage you get with them. Because they're like, you become less risky every time you do it because they're like, oh,
we know you.
Yeah. So what happened to me in real life is that particular condo, when I was looking to refinance and take my money out, because I'm a real estate agent and I deal with this, I know the guidelines of actual loans. So I know that many lenders, one, they don't want to lend less than $100,000. They don't want to lend where the loan is going to be less than $100,000. Many lenders have a thing where they don't want to lend for condos. So it just depends.
Oh, really?
That gets even more stringent when it comes to investment properties. We're just talking about regular residential loans. This just it becomes even more tighter when it comes to that. So I started searching online to say there has to be a lender out here that's making money, doing niche lending to people that own condos as investment properties. It has to be. And if it's not, I'm starting a business. So, you know how it is. You know, Big Brother's always watching.
Yeah.
When you start typing in things come up on your Facebook feed, your Instagram feed. So this entity came up on my Instagram feed of a business out of Florida called Flip Simply. So I looked at it. It had all of the criteria laid out, like, you know, have this. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me call them up. And because I'm well versed in it, I can call them up and just have a conversation. What about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? Really nice guy on the other end of the line. I'm telling you, Kim, we just rolled out our condo program. We weren't lending in condos before. So you kind of be our test case. Yeah. And if you're willing to give it a go, I'm willing to give it a go. I said, okay, cool. As long as you can do these things, because I fit these criteria, they got it done. I said, you're my new guys. That's it. Like, you know, because I have more properties that I want to buy. So you're my new guys. He said, okay, let's do it. And so from there, you know, I just began to learn how they did business. They began to learn how I did business. So with my credit score and the amount of cash that I had and the things like that, I knew what my terms would be before I even went and found a property. I knew my terms would be 20% down. They were going to charge a fee of $17.50. That's their fee. They're going to charge a 2% in points. That's another fee to them. And then the rest is just regular closing costs, what I would traditionally have anyway. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I know when I do a deal, they'll allow me to get 2% help from a seller. So if I can write the deal in a way that 2% in points that they're charging me, I can get that rolled into the deal. So I don't need that as cash. The only thing I'm paying is the $17.50 and the rest of my closing costs plus my 20%. So I already know what money I need. So whenever I go look at an opportunity, I'm looking at it from that lens. Oh, this thing is 200, so I'm going to need 40 grand. Closing's probably going to be about 10, 12. So I need 50. Yeah, I can do it. And then I'll run the numbers. I already know kind of what the interest rate that I'm going to get. So I'll plug in the numbers like I have apps on my phone, a loan calculator. I'm able to plug it in really quickly to see what the taxes are on the property, estimate the insurance. Plug it in. Okay. The mortgage is going to be $1,363. I know the market, so I know this property I can get $1,700 for rent. So that means I'm gonna clear $337 on it a month. Yeah, easy. You know what I mean?
Now you got these on auto pay too.
Every last one of
just checking.
So that was going to be my question too. Like, what type of system do you have when you start having a portfolio of 8 properties? Is there like literally where you going in? But you already answered.
I just wanted to check.
So that's a lot. I'm glad you asked the question because now I'm gonna really get to it. So so this is going to show you the next level. So remember I talked about the whole paying it off in 22 and a half years versus 30. So I always encourage people to take out a 30-year mortgage. Okay. It obligates you to less. You can always pay it off earlier. Yeah. It just obligates you to less in case something happens. You never know, right?
You never know.
With that being said, if you get a tough month, if the person doesn't pay their rent, at least you're obligated to pay less. You can always pay more. Yeah. I pay more.
Right.
And this goes back to a conversation that we were having about my retirement strategy. In 15 years, I want to have a minimum of 10 properties that are paid off. My math says that those 10 properties will net a minimum of $1,500 each. Not everyone will be 15, but between all of them, it's going to average $1,500 after I pay taxes and insurance or whatever fees that I have. 10 properties at $1,500, that's 15 grand a month. And I still own the properties. That 1,500 will be perpetual forever for my kids after I go, right? So with that being said, I need them paid off in 15 years. So what I do is that 363 that I said, that 337 that I said I'm cash flowing every month, I put that in as additional principal. So the whole rent that they pay me on every one of my properties,
it goes back.
The whole rent payment goes. I actually pay a little more for a few of them. And the reason why, like that condo I was telling you about, because it's $88,000, I pay that. I'm gonna pay that off in probably 5 years, like it's a car note. You know what I mean? Just an expensive car note. Then I'll take that full rent and I'll choose another property and apply that full rent to that one with that rent payment. So it's a snowball effect, and I'll keep paying them. and it'll keep paying one off. Then those 2 will pay the next one off. Then those 3 will pay the next one off, all the way until all 10. I'm not stopping at 10. That's just the minimum.
That's your minimum.
Yeah, that's just the minimum. And they all on auto pay.
Oh, and they all on auto pay.
So, because the rent payments are pretty much on auto pay. Yeah. So they just, they in and they out. They in and they out. They in and they out. Oh. I've been fortunate because I haven't really, even through the pandemic, I didn't have any tenants that couldn't pay. A couple were slow at times because the nature of their job, they had to be outside, so they couldn't get paid, and I worked with them. But I was pretty fortunate to have all tenants that were essential employees. So they could continue to work. They could continue to work from home, or they could go in, and their payments never stopped. Nothing ever happened.
So go ahead, Caitlin.
Real quick before we move on. So you know how you said you took like the 337, that's the after you pay the bill on that mortgage, and you're putting that right back into. Yeah. So what's your advice, or would you advise that to a first time investor? Because they say to have that emergency pot. Yeah.
So my advice to them would be to look at their finances. Now I'm able to do that because I have multiple streams of income, that I'm not missing that. Although that is one of the streams of income, I can put that right back in and satisfy the goal that I'm trying to.
Because you got a bigger goal to get to.
So for the average person, it's not that I would advise for it or against it. I would say, what's your goal? What are you trying to do? Because I have someone that I mentor that they were asking me the same question, and they have a property. And I said, for you, I would advise no. I would say stack the 337 so that you can build up your next nest egg to buy your next property. Yeah. Because your finances aren't in that way. You're not going to get some big chunk of money at some point. This is your income. This is your disposable amount. So you got to let it build up. And we do that, in a year or 2 years, and then it builds to something. And then boom, And also, even if they didn't have aspirations of another property, you want to build that so that you can have that to be able to make those repairs and different things to the property.
When the HVAC go.
When the HVAC go. That's a good segue into the next thing I want to talk about. So some people ask me, well, Kim, how do you manage all of those properties? Do you have a property management? I said, no, because this is what I do for a living in terms of real estate. So I'm well versed in it. One, I'm extremely good with my hands. So I can fix just about anything. I can repair, I can install, I can take down. But my time doesn't allow me to do that a lot of times. So one, I have tradespeople on call that I could call to do it. The other thing that I do is I purchase a home warranty for every one of my properties, and I keep it going. So that might be $30 or $40 a month. But it's almost like having a maintenance man on call for $30 or $40 a month. Because when things like the HVAC, especially the major systems, when they break down, I can call them up and say, hey, the refrigerator's broke at this property. I could pay a deductible, $75, $100. They go out, they repair it. If they can't repair it, they replace it or give me a credit to replace it. So, and when it comes to landlord and tenants, one key thing is, as long as you are putting forth an effort and making like, hey, I'm trying to get this done as soon as possible, they're understanding. They'll work with you. Now, there are certain things that, it's like, okay, we got to get something done quick. Air conditioning actually is not one of them. Yeah. The reason why I say that is because many people feel like the day like today is 90 degrees. Oh, you're supposed to have the air on. Nah. If you read the laws, air conditioning is a comfort. It's not a necessity. I have to provide you heat, not air conditioning. Okay. I have to provide you cooking. You know what I mean? So like that, the stove go out or the refrigerator go out. And that happened to me. I'll give you a real example. One of my tenants called and said, hey, Kim, the freezer is not freezing. The refrigerator is still working. They had a deep freezer. So they said, we're pretty good, but can you get somebody out? Sure. Called him out. He came right out like the next day. He looked at it. He said, okay, you might have about a week and this whole thing is going to be gone. She called me while he was there and said, Kim, he said it might be a week. This whole thing might be gone. I said, okay, cool. I'm going to work on getting another refrigerator there. Yeah. All right. So I called the home warranty company and said, okay, what's going to happen? Can they give me a credit? I need to get them a refrigerator in there ASAP. And they said, oh, well, he already put the order in. He put the order in, so we can't really give you a credit. Once we've ordered the parts, that's it. How long are the parts going to take? It could be anywhere from 8 to 10 days. Oh, no. So I said, well, I can't be without a refrigerator for 8 to 10 days. Come on, something has to give. Can you escalate this to somebody else? Yeah, I can, but they're going to tell you the same thing. Unfortunately, once those parts are ordered. I said, okay. All right, cool. So now I'm like, what am I going to do? I got it. I'm going to go to Home Depot. I'm going to buy a mini fridge about this size right here. So first I call my client and say, hey, they're saying, it's going to take 10 days to get this fridge fixed. And even if I ordered a brand new one, it ain't going to be there for another 2 weeks. Would you be okay with me bringing a mini fridge over there for you to store your refrigerated products and you could put your freezer stuff in the freezer until they fix it? Oh, yeah, that's not a problem. As long as we have somewhere to put our stuff. With the Home Depot, I spent like $150 on a mini fridge, brought that over, set it up, put it in. They called 2 days later. The parts are in. The technician wants to come out tomorrow to install it. Came, installed it, refrigerator back up and running. They transferred everything back. Came, I picked the refrigerator up, and I took it back.
There it is. Home Depot, take it back.
So you did your customer service part, and then
that's it.
Still kept your money.
And the biggest thing was I thought outside of the box. Like I didn't get frustrated to be like, oh my God, like what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. This leads me to both of you guys' situations where you were saying, you know what, these repairs, I'm not, and it's because you didn't really have things in place. Because if you did, and I understand, like you're saying, hey, I want to get rid of it, but many of us it's just like I liken it to people having a car and they start to have car problems. Instead of spending the money to fix it, they just say, I'm gonna go spend a whole nother $30,000 on a car. Might be in that boat. And this is only a $700 fix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now I gotta roll the negative equity from this car into that car. So really I'm paying more. I'm paying for both of these cars when I buy that car. Yeah. And I could have just fixed it. Or I could have just found the money to get the repair done that I was gonna get done. But that's another thing. But same thing, you know what I mean? Kind of the same thing, you know what I mean? Like I was listening to yours where you said it was a plumbing issue. My thing is, if it wasn't a plumbing issue that extended out into the street and, you know what I mean, all of that, like it was a major thing for all the houses on the road, it might have made sense for me to, let me tackle this and I'll just keep it. Especially if you had those aspirations to have an investment property. Yeah. Same for you. Like, look, you know what? What I heard, what I heard in your situation was really more so educating your tenant. Yeah, what you're responsible for and what they're responsible for. You know what I mean? Because certain things like that it should have been in your lease. When there's something like that, like a leak, you're obligated to tell me as soon as it happens. If not, then you incur some of this damage right here. You're going to be responsible, meaning you're not going to get some of your security deposit back. When they are aware of that and they know that, it takes on a whole different context.
I gave her
you know what I mean?
Full and more because it was in an interest-bearing account. I gave her plus.
Yeah, it takes on a whole different
you was
context.
tripping.
Yeah. But again, it goes back to that education. It goes to the education of you knowing the landlord-tenant rules and then educating her. Because again, people just operate off. They just like, one of my tenants was like, these blinds are messed up. When do you think you could replace them? I said, never. Like that's your responsibility. Look at the lease. I can point you to the clause. That's your responsibility. Oh, I didn't know. Now you do.
They just happen to be here when you got here.
That's
so
it.
Bonus for you.
That's it. Actually, you owe me because those are mine. You know what I mean? So
So a question for you. I actually have two, but my first question is when you talked about those non-QM loans, that is not something you get through a traditional like Bank of America or whatever source. Those
sources that we know. Right. They don't really do non-QM. They all by the book in the box. Non-QM are going to be kind of your, you might even heard some of the names of them, but they're not your bigger household names like that. Okay. Some of your mortgage brokers, meaning I could own a mortgage brokerage where I have relationships with different of these kind of independent lenders that when you bring me your situation, I look at it and say, who's going to be the best fit for this? Okay. You know what I mean? That particular one just happened to be its own entity. And the guy, we became really cool. And so he explained to me, he said, man, this was just a couple of dudes with a whole bunch of money that wanted to get into this business. So they formed this business to do it. Okay. So a lot of what we're doing, we're just learning as we go. And I'm like, well, I'll learn with you. You know what I mean? Like, I love it, because you were able to do what I need you to do. I've probably done about 10 loans with them now. So they've done everything. I don't know how these other entities got my information, but a couple of other ones that are like them, they reached out to me. We heard you're doing this. We heard you're doing that. We'd like to compete for your business. And I'm like, wow, how'd you know? They're like, oh, we have our ways. And so if you have anything going on right now, and it's, at the time I didn't, and then boom, an opportunity came. And so I said, Let me run it by him. I already know what the figures are for my guys. Let me run it by him. So I ran it by him. He's like, oh, I already know. We could beat him on the rate. We can beat him on this. I said, so I ran it by him. He was like, are you sure that's what they? I said, look, I've done 6 or 7 deals with them. I'm sure this is what it is. I have it. I have it. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. We can't compete with that. You do better going with that. Hopefully you give us a shot on the next deal. I said, no, I don't mind, because again, as an agent, you learn to have multiple people in your arsenal, multiple loan officers, multiple inspectors, appraisers, every trade, all of that. Because people get busy. They may even drop the ball, you know what I mean? Or they might decide, I don't want to do this anymore. So you need to have a backup. Yeah. So when it comes to the non-QM, there's some that are kind of leaders in that, you know what I mean, that do really well with it, but they're not really your Banks of America, Navy Federals.
Didn't think so. Just wanted to clarify.
No, they are not.
Yeah. I have a question. This is back about more so like your landlord type stuff. So you do basically a lot of stuff yourself. Do you also take on the process of vetting your potential tenants?
Yes.
And then how do you go about, since you're doing it yourself, how do you go about doing like the background checks and all that type of stuff? Because that's one of those things, it seems like if you're not educated in it, it seems like a daunting task where it's like, I don't even want to get involved in that.
You said it. That's the number one thing. Educating yourself, knowing. So with that, you got to know as a landlord what you can do, what you can't do as you're vetting these people. Okay. You also want to know like what your responsibilities are as a landlord when you are going through the application process. One thing that many people may not know, just like when you buy your house, let's say when you're selling a house, right? Okay. When you sell your house, you have the option of, if multiple offers come in on your house, you have the option of looking at each one of these offers and say, I want to go with that one because I like the fact that they had a dog. I like the fact that they were veterans. I like the fact that that was the 3rd offer and 3 is my favorite number. It could be any reason. Yeah. Well, with landlords, it's different. When you decide to rent your property, you're supposed to establish requirements, meaning these are the requirements to rent my property when you apply. A credit score, this. The first applicant that satisfies those requirements, you're obligated to rent to that person, whether you like them or not. If you don't rent to that person, they now have the right to sue you for discrimination because they'll say, I fit every requirement. Right? I fit all the requirements. Why wouldn't he rent to me? And now you on a hot seat. Oh, yeah. You like the head, you like the skin color. Like, what was it? What was it about them that you decided not to rent to them because you were supposed to? So with that being said, I established my criteria of what I want, and because I have 8. I pretty much have some standard language that I use. Here it is, and I guess I was a little more strategic. So I was a little more vague about certain things. Or you could be the other way. You could set the bar kind of high. So nobody really meets it. So you could pick whoever you want because nobody met it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it all depends on that. So of course, just like anything else in today's society, they have websites, they have apps, they have all kinds of things. I ran across one called Listing to Lease. The 2 is the number 2. Okay. Listing to Leasing. So basically, when you list it all the way through leasing it. I only use it for the application process, but you can actually list the property there, do the application process there, and do a lease there. All of it can be there, right? You have the ability to do it as an agent or as an owner, right? So as an owner, I put in all the pertinent information about my property, how much the rent's going to be, blah, blah, blah. It creates basically like a file, and then it generates a link. So now I can supply this link to whoever it is that I want that asks, how do I apply? It's $39.99 for them. Like I don't pay, it's free to you as a landlord. They pay the application fee. So I say it in my requirements. It's a $40 application fee for any person 18 or over that's going to live in the property. They all have to apply. Here are the requirements. When they apply, it allows them to upload all of their documentation, pay stubs, W-2s, bank statement, copy of their license, and any other pertinent information. The system also they supply information for the employer and they supply information for their current landlord. The system also does landlord and employment verification. So it'll send emails and call, and then it'll send you back with the information that they gave them. The $39 does a credit check, a criminal background check, and a landlord tenant check. Okay. So you get to see all of that. So it's really not daunting at all.
Not hard
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the onus is on them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And if they don't submit
Yeah.
something, hey, their application is incomplete.
Right.
I can show you on my phone. My last property that I just secured, when did we go to settlement? Like 2 weeks ago. I forget what day it was. I use Facebook Marketplace as a place that I start. I've had very good success there in getting tenants. So I put it out there on Facebook Marketplace. I was just showing my wife today. It's had over 8,000 views. It's been shared over 80 times. I have no less than 200 people that have said, is this still available? Is this still available? I've actually secured a renter already. Okay. So, just did that yesterday, basically. Haven't signed a lease yet, but I've identified them already. One major thing that I needed to do with the property was replace the windows. Okay. But the owner that I bought it for already bought the windows. So they're there. They were supposed to have them replaced, but they're like, I'm leaving the windows, like I can't do nothing with them. I'm like, oh, great. All I got to do is find somebody to put them in. The guy that I normally use was busy. A friend of mine, he had a guy, he's busy. The guy that applied, he works installing windows.
Look at that. Exactly.
Yeah, so he went out this morning, he measured them to make sure the windows that were there are the ones that fit. He gave me the price on what he would do to install them. He'll be there next weekend to install them, and his lease starts on the 15th. So, it doesn't have to be daunting. It's only as complex as we make it. You know what I mean? I can say I've been very fortunate, but I also have to chalk it up to me knowing things. Yeah. Like I know certain things. So it just helps that I'm already in this field.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I'm ready to buy, and I don't know if I'm ready to hold.
Right.
Am I going to buy and hold? I'm going to buy and flip. I don't know.
You're more of a flipper?
I think so.
I'm more of a buy and hold.
I want to say I'm a buy and hold. It's funny. I do believe my husband is an electrician. So in my mind, right, and his father is a painter and his father is a carpenter. So in my mind, flipping makes sense. I have a team, right? I got a team for flipping. But also you can have a team for buy and hold when things go wrong, right? The same team can be used for that as well.
It's the same team. And believe it or not, the good thing about that is they know people.
Yes.
So even if they can't do it, or you need a different type of tradesperson,
they know people.
Yes. So those are the best people to have in your corner, because you're like, hey, you know what? The roof is leaking. I need a roofer. Exactly. None of them are roofers, but I'm sure they know somebody.
I'm sure they do.
That's a roofer.
Exactly. Like when our HVAC went up another place, his friend does HVAC. So there we are.
Exactly. Yeah. And man, I can show you my phone right now. You just type in roof. You're going to see all the roofers, because I put that behind every person's name. So when I need to know, because I can't remember all of their names. So I'll type in roof and it'll come up roofer. Yeah. I'll type in HVAC, come up all the HVAC people.
Got it.
Electrician. It'll come up all the electricians that I've worked with or, know. So, and they'll come and they'll go. So it's always good to have them, especially for me. It's just always good to have them. Today, my lawn guy, I put a property as a real estate agent. I put a property on the market that, the person, he was ready to sell. Well, you know how it looks when you cut your grass and you just cut it with a regular mower, but you don't have the bag on the side. It just leaves all of the grass, and then it gets looks like hay. It just didn't show well, like in the pictures and stuff. And so I didn't even say nothing to him. I just called my guy. I was like, hey, look, can you go and blow it to the back in the woods, or it might need to be cut, but something. I need this to look better. Okay, Mr. Kim, I'll go over there. I'll take a look. He's like, I'll do it for $60 for you. Great. The property that I just told you that I rented, the grass was overgrown, the mulch bed, weeds and stuff in it. Hey, I need you to go over there, put some new mulch, throw away those bushes they did, cut the grass, make it look like something, edge it up. I'll do it for you in the morning. I'm sitting at my daughter's graduation. He sends me pictures. It's done. And because we work together, he's not saying, oh, I need payment before I do it or anything. He automatically knows, like, I'm good. He sends me business. Like, he gives me business. And those, like when you become an investor or a landlord like that, you need those people and you need to treat them good because you need them when you need them. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you don't want to nickel and dime them or, treat them bad. Nope. You need them when you need them. And all of my tradespeople, they like, nah, he treat me good. He going to pay me what I asked and a little bit more because when I call, I need you to come.
I need to be at the front of the line.
Yeah.
Thank
Exactly.
you.
Exactly.
So let me ask you a question. Is your properties, do you have you established that as like a separate business? Is that like Kim Profit LLC, real estate holdings,
Good question. So me personally, I do. Each house is its own business. It doesn't sit under one business.
Interesting.
And I saw an interesting video today about LLCs, and I'm like, I wish we could just broadcast this to the world. So, in the video, he was explaining how LLC is not really, it doesn't save you on taxes. That's not what it's for. Yeah. It can, but that's not what it's for. It's actually a pass-through disregarded entity. The taxes flow to your personal taxes. You still pay self-employment tax, so it doesn't really save you a lot, right? What it is it protects you from a liability standpoint, right? Meaning it protects your personal stuff from the business stuff. So let's say I had Kim Profit LLC and I have all of these houses under Kim Profit LLC. It's like, Kim Profit LLC is booming. It's doing great. But one person falls on the steps of one of the properties and sues me for $2 million, right?
Yep.
All of the properties are exposed at that point.
I saw where you was going.
All an asset under that business because they're suing Kim Profit LLC.
That's some game.
There it is.
With that being said, every property I buy is its own LLC. So if anything happens on that property, the liability is limited to that property right there. That's it. You can't get anything else of mine. None of my other properties, none of my personal stuff. Yeah. So I'll share a little bit of my strategy and what I do, right? So even on this last property, what I did was a friend of mine brought me the opportunity. He brought me the opportunity. I crunched the numbers and said, okay, it'll work. I drafted the contract. When I drafted the contract with the property address LLC, right? It hadn't even been established yet. I did some due diligence to make sure it was available. 9 times out of 10, if a person that wasn't an investor on that property before didn't, they didn't do that, it's available.
Address,
exactly.
LLC,
That's my point. So it's available. So I looked it up. I said, okay, cool. It's free. I can use it. So I did that. Once the offer came back as a contract, she signed off on everything. Boom. Now I go to the state of Maryland's website. I incorporate this business, LLC. I then go to the IRS website. Just a rule of thumb, you can't go get a EIN number on the weekends. You can only do it Monday through Friday, doing business hours. So I go to the IRS website. Now I get an EIN number for my new business. The title company, when you settle on this, as well as the lender, if you're using a lender, when you do that, especially with the non-QM loan, because you can buy it in a business name, actually they prefer it. Because it's kind of more of a commercial loan than it is a residential loan, right? With that, you have to have certain things, certain documentation. So you're going to have your articles of organization. That's when you start the business. You're going to have an operating agreement that says who owns the business, who's authorized to sign. And then you're in the state of Maryland, you're going to have a certificate of good standing, meaning I don't owe Maryland anything. I'm not in, any debt and you're just starting a business, so you're going to be in good standing. So you need those 3. It's 4. Articles of organization, the operating agreement, the certificate of good understanding, and a letter from the IRS with your EIN number.
Right.
Okay.
You send that to the lender, send that to the title company. Now that's that. Now, one important thing, and I was educating somebody on this too, is that you have to decide what you're going to do, whether you're going to be a single member LLC or a multi-member LLC, meaning like, are you going to own it as husband and wife, or are you going to own it as a one person? There's some differences to that. That's a different segment about businesses, but that's just something to think about when you do it, because there's different implications down the road when you do your taxes when it comes to a single member LLC versus a multi-member LLC. So that answers your question. I own my properties and LLC for each property.
LLC. And it makes sense. When I asked the question, it made sense to shelter it from yourself personally, but did not think about all of them being together.
Other properties.
What would happen if you do that? Because then you become Bazzuto essentially, and then that's that's a problem.
That's it.
Right.
That's it. You just got to know, one of the other things that I do, talking about liability, one of the other things, and I did this when I became a real estate agent, even before I owned multiple properties, is I took out a liability policy, an umbrella liability policy, umbrella insurance policy, basically to cover me. Like if I had a client riding in my car and we were in an accident, it would go beyond what the automobile insurance covered in case the liability extended past that. So it was $1 million, meaning, and again, it protected me at my house, my personal house. If somebody fell or did something and they sued me, it would go beyond what the traditional insurance would cover. Cool. When I start owning multiple properties, now I need to increase that liability. So even though each one of them are in its own LLC, I still have another policy of $5 million that if anything were to happen to anything or anything related to me, that kicks in after the initial policies take care of and they're exhausted. So that's another thing too, is making sure you have enough protection in terms of insurance and stuff like that so that you're not exposed. Because a lot of people, again, these are businesses. My broker for my real estate agency told me this when I first got into business, probably within my first month. He said, I'm gonna give you some information. It might not sound great, but you'll get it at some point. He said, being a real estate agent is owning and operating your own business. But everybody's not qualified to own and operate their own business. So you have to know what you're good at and you have to farm out the rest. So again, starting an LLC is easy, but you got to know what you're not good at. Meaning like, I need to go talk to somebody about the law aspects. I need to talk to somebody about marketing. I need to talk to somebody about the financial aspects from a tax perspective. I need to know these things, or either just pay somebody to guide me in the right direction or take care of it for me. I just happen to have that in my arsenal where I'm kind of well versed in that. And a lot of it falls in that same financial arena. So I just know. So that's just for the listening public to say, you know what, just, you can't do it all. You're not going to know it all. Talk to the professionals. Spend money. This is a business. You're going to have to invest some money in your business, meaning consult the professionals.
So when you say, and just for clarification, you have a $5 million policy. Did you spend $5 million on that policy?
No, not at all. That's just like a policy on your house to replace replace your house if it was damaged by a fire. You're not paying the house value. You're paying some portion as a premium.
Right.
Now, truth be told, when you think about the insurance industry, there's a lot of people paying monthly premiums and nothing ever happens. So basically they're paying for the damage done to other people's things. Right. And that's the insurance business. So same thing. I've been paying on that policy for 20y years and I've never had to use it one time.
So when you want to use it, it's there.
And that's any insurance. You know what I mean? Health insurance, automobile insurance, any insurance. It's like you feel like it's a racket, but when you need it, you're glad it's there.
Yes. I know a lot of people. My 9 to 5, I'm in contracting, and one of the things that you have to have when you do business with government contracts is insurance. And when you talk to small businesses and you tell them I need $1 million insurance, because I personally contract for DC public schools. So when you do that, I tell you I need $1 million insurance policy. They say, whoa, we don't have that. And it's like, it's not as expensive as you think it is. And it's a good investment strategy. Like you out here with a petting zoo and you don't have no insurance. That's dangerous.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So you covered a lot, and I think this was real great.
I think so too. The last question I have for you, just as somebody who's thinking, not me personally, but as people might be thinking about getting into real estate, is real estate something that one can do part-time? After all you've said, and that you're owning your own business and you're doing all that, can you actually do this part-time?
Let me ask you a question before I answer that question. Okay. When you say, can you do real estate part-time? What do you mean by do it?
Oh, can you sell properties part-time?
As a real estate agent?
As a real estate agent, yes.
Because there's a lot of people that do that, like as their side.
Well, can you be successful at it? You know, there's a lot of people that do a lot of things.
Yeah. So now I'm going to ask you another question.
Okay.
What do you mean part-time? Define part-time to me.
I guess someone who has a traditional 40-hour job, right? So a 9 to 5. Can they sell weekends, holidays, after 5? Can they? And when I say successful, I guess I should quantify successful. I should say, is it something that they can bring in additional income, use as an additional stream of income?
Absolutely. They definitely can. There are many, and I would say probably the majority fall in that. They don't call them part-time. They call them dual career. Oh. The reason why they don't call them part-time, or the reason why I don't refer to them as part-time is this. You said they do 40 hours on their job. Mm-hmm. What if they do 40 hours in real estate?
Because they probably do. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Is that part-time?
That's right.
That's not really part-time.
That's true.
No.
Yeah.
Me personally, I have a traditional job. But what I do in real estate probably exceeds what 2 real estate agents do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or what somebody on a traditional job does.
Right.
So when somebody asks me, so do you do this part-time or full-time? I always ask them, well, what do you mean by that? Like, are you asking that because of what else I do? You know what I mean? Is that more important to you? Because no matter how many hours I spend doing it, I still know what I know. Yeah. And you can go get somebody that has 10 free hours a day because they don't work anywhere else and they don't know what I know. You know, so what are you really getting at? Like, what do you want to know? Because really, I wouldn't care if somebody was full-time or part-time. I would care more about, what do you know? Like, how experienced are you? Can you get me to my destination?
I agree. I think sometimes I just want to give viewers who are thinking about additional streams of income.
And that's why I said that, to have viewers think about it in a different way. Yeah. Because I get it all the time. You know what I mean? I get it all the time. And when I really go down my resume and what I've done, they're like, yeah, I guess I was thinking about part-time agents a different way, because I can show you a lineup of dual career agents that do more than full-time agents that don't have another career,
right? Because
of what they know.
Yeah. Okay. So of course, the show is called the Stream Chaser Show, and most people that tune into us, they're either aspiring to get into different multiple streams of income, or they're already tapped into different multiple streams of income. So for you, we already know you got the finance, consulting business going. Yeah. You got your real estate going. Yeah. So like, what's next for you?
What's next for me? Honestly, what's next for me is probably building on those. So I kind of talked about the real estate aspect from an investor standpoint in terms of building my portfolio for my exit strategy, because I'm really trying to get to the point of passive income where I can just wake up and not have to do anything and still be making money. So me as a real estate agent, the next step would be me opening up my own brokerage and having 5 to 10 agents work for me where they're producing income and I'm making money off of that. I can list and sell property if I want to, but I don't have to. Yeah. And I can be more of an educator and guide them and train good agents to do good business out in the public. So that's another stream. And then I have like I said, I have a financial consulting business. So building that business up where I'm doing more consulting work in terms of helping people start businesses, helping them set up their financial systems in their businesses with accounting softwares, whether it be implementing them, vetting them, actually doing bookkeeping services, you know what I mean, periodically, whatever, monthly, quarterly. And then I have a large tax prep wing of that business. So doing tax prep for individuals as well as companies. So building that where I'm not the physical person doing it. Gotcha. I have people working it. So just building those businesses. Building the teams. Yeah, building those businesses. And then one other thing she mentioned is you do contracting for DC. So that was one thing that I've been researching and trying to get into, is more doing, like, even within my business, is doing some government contracting between, whether it be federal government or like a local government. So, looking to do that.
Well, they're always looking. Make sure you tap into the last episode.
I saw that.
8.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
About the federal contract.
Yeah. And the local government's always looking for financial auditors. It's like they don't hire those; they always outsource that business. It's a thing.
Yeah, well, she's a girl.
That's
right
a start.
There.
That's a start right there. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
All right. Whew. I'm as tired. I learned so much. I have so many wheels spinning. I think I have so much homework to do as I go home and consider what type of real estate investing I want to do, what the next step is for us, as opposed to like, what kind of loans do you want? Do you want to take a loan? Do you want to do it in cash? Because if you want to do it in cash, then you need stat cash. If you don't want to do it in cash, then maybe you just need to consider your debt to income ratio. I got things to consider.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it.
Yes.
That's how you do it. You flush it all out to see like, okay, what can I do right now? Like what's going to be the best track for me right now? Because like that debt to income ratio, that was me in the beginning because my income could support it. Then I got to a level where I didn't even want to go through that no more. Yeah. When I go the non-QM route, that's the other thing I want to say. When you do the non-QM route, it's more about the opportunity, the property itself. They don't really care about you and your personal finances. Only thing about you they want to know is your credit score high enough to get you into this program? Kind of like get your key in the door. Once you're in the door, we don't care. All we care about is, do you have enough money in terms of to consummate this transaction? And do the numbers of the transaction make sense? Meaning, we want to make sure that if your loan's going to be $1,500, you can the rent on the property can't be $12.
Right.
You know,
That doesn't make
you have
sense.
to make up the deficit. What they call is the debt service coverage ratio. So you'll hear or see it as DSCR. That typically has to be at least 10% higher, or you'll see it say you might see it as 1.1. Others might have it a little higher. It just depends. So that means if the mortgage is $1,500, you have to take 10% of that and add it on top. So now you have to be collecting at least $1,650.
Okay.
If you're only collecting $1,650, then you only have a cash flow of $150. That's not a lot. That's not to say it's not a good opportunity, but it's not a lot. So typically, you're going to want to have more of a cash flow in there anyway. So I would say revisit that if it comes down to that. But that's just a little nugget when it comes down to qualification for those types of loans. But the beauty of it, I don't have to give up anything. No pay stubs, no bank statements, I don't have to do anything.
Do none of that.
You have to supply some other information, like to satisfy the requirement or to satisfy the fact that I'm a seasoned investor. I give them a spreadsheet of all my properties and all of the financial information that goes with it. How much I owe in terms of mortgages every month, how much I make, so that they can see, oh, he knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? And then boom, they check that off.
Yeah.
So yeah. But that helps to get me like lesser points and stuff like that. Because it's like, hey, you know me.
Yeah, you know what you're doing. Okay. Now,
Let me go on Redfin. And usually when I go on Redfin and look at listings, I look at them from like highest price down because I'm daydreaming about where I'm about to move. Right. Now I'm going to flip it on the other side, look at it from lowest property down so I can see the opportunities as Kim calls them.
So in the future, do me a favor.
Don't use Redfin?
Yeah, don't use Redfin.
Really?
Go to kimprofit.com.
Okay.
Search for any property you want. Yeah.
Did you hear what the man said?
And here's the thing. You got access to me. You can call me and say, hey, I saw this on your website. Can you give me some more information?
Yes.
Can we go see it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all heard the man say kimprofit.com.
And that's,
it's profit like a prophet in the Bible, not a prophet in finance. I don't really talk about finance.
I know, but I wanted the listeners to know.
So it's www.kimprofet.com.
Period.
Get on this website.
Yeah.
I'm going to be on there because...
Beat Kalan on there.
Before we sign off on here, because like how you said, there are properties out there that are the 40 to 60, but it's like if you're not aware, we're in this seller's market where the prices are sky high. And it's like when you go to those homedatabase.com and you try to do so, like oftentimes my searches lately have just been 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Okay.
Trying to look for like the condos, because there was a time I was seeing all the condos across the street from where I used to live.
Yeah.
Great prices. Now you don't see none of those, and the lowest thing you might see a townhouse like Candace saying $275. I'm like, there's no way I'm paying no $275 for that stuff.
Because they've all went up in value. Yeah. So the search you used to do, now you don't see those properties no more. And now it's like they in the next tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll be on kimprofit.com.
Please.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
All right. Well, Stream Chasers, it's been a 2-series episode, and it has been fun. I have learned a lot. I am tired, but not tired because of anything other than my brain moving like 1,000 miles per minute. Like I am like I've got so many things I need to go to YouTube University for when I leave here.
Yeah. If you're into real estate, if you're not into real estate, listen to it, because both sessions, you got some good things that you can apply to your personal life. That will help you get a new income stream.
Yes, and I would say tune in to the next couple sessions, because while this was a 2-part series, we have 2 more coming up on real estate. So we're going to take you all the way from residential to commercial, and we're even going to give you some new technology in real estate. So stay tuned, because it's going to be a thing.
Fractional shares of real estate.
So maybe you don't have $20,000, maybe you got $12. We gonna get you there, okay?
Yep.
All right, so YouTube, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and the website www.streamchasers.work, because Stream Chasers
do the work.
All right, and you just got paid.
Just got paid.